Russia and Ukrainian officials are holding another round of peace talks today as Moscow intensifies the attacks. However, there's growing skepticism over whether these negotiations will actually lead to any real progress. So here to discuss is Christopher Chivvis. He is a senior fellow and director of the American Statecraft Program at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. He's also a former U.S. National Intelligence Officer for Europe. Thank you so much for joining me. So you endeavor in your latest piece to answer the question that we are all asking, which is, how on earth is this going to end? And you sort of map out two possible paths, right? Continued escalation, possibly all the way to crossing the nuclear threshold, and there are various ways that could happen, or a bitter peace imposed on a defeated Ukraine. Explain why you think these two pathways are the possibilities, and where do those scenarios leave the U.S.?
Well, neither of them are good, is I think the reality. Continued war and escalation on the one hand is what seems most likely where we are right now. I mean, obviously, as many news sources have reported, Putin has experienced much more difficulty militarily than we initially expected, and probably than he initially expected. But that doesn't mean that he can't continue to press on, throw more military forces into Ukraine, increase the bloodshed, and prevail in conquering the country. And I think that's the baseline trajectory from where we are right now, is Russian occupation of the country and Ukraine losing its independence and sovereignty as a state. That's obviously a very dangerous situation, and we can talk about that. The only real alternative to that from where we are is the diplomatic track, which, as you noted, there have been some efforts over the course of the last couple of weeks. They don't seem to have gotten very far for a range of reasons. And frankly, given the way that Putin has conducted this war, the horrific scenes that we're seeing on our television, it's not surprising that most of the leaders in NATO countries, including here in Washington, are very reticent about engaging with diplomacy with Vladimir Putin, because diplomacy with him would mean offering him certain types of things in order to get him to do what we'd like to see him to do, which is to end this war.
Yeah, I know. As we talk about peace talks, to me, it always strikes me as insincere if the attacking continues while you're having peace talks. But I also, in watching this, I've thought to myself, maybe the answer lies within the Russian people. We've seen more and more protests that Vladimir Putin has been very successful in managing the narrative in Russia. You can't manage everything in this information age. Do you think that there's a possibility that the Russian people could play a role in this? That they could, perhaps the oligarchs, that they could do something to slow him down or stop him completely, or maybe even regime change?
It's very, very hard to predict when a regime like the Putin regime is going to collapse. I mean, we spend a lot of time predicting the demise of dictators and autocrats around the world, and sometimes we get it right, and oftentimes we get it wrong, either because we expect they're on the verge of ending and then they live on for decades, or because we expect that they're very, very stable and then they suddenly collapse overnight. So you can't really know. I think that there is probably the case that Putin has set in motion here forces that are going to impose a major strain on his grip on power in the coming months, years, and may ultimately, over time, lead to his demise. But in terms of expecting that this is going to happen in a time frame that will provide relief for the Ukrainian people. And allow Ukraine to preserve its sovereignty as an independent state. It's not a bet that I would make. I don't think it's going to happen that quickly. We can hope that it will, of course, but I'm not sure that it will. And also, just to add to that, we don't know what would come next. It would be a very, very unstable moment in time for Russia, which is, as everyone knows, a nuclear power, to experience a violent regime change at a moment when it's engaged in this war. So it's a dangerous thing that we're talking about here.
Yeah, Christopher Chivvis, you make two really great points. Thank you so much.